everyone, I'm Megan with the I Believe podcast, and today we have a great guest. We're going to talk about psychotherapy. What is it and how did she get into it? It's super fascinating. So please welcome our guest today, Adriana.
Thank you so much for having me.
So how did you get into psychotherapy?
I got into psychotherapy because the patterns that I learned about my behavior as a child, and some of them they continue as an adult. After recognizing those patterns and wanting to continue those patterns, which I also recognized within my grandmother and my mother, it took me to that path. The technique that I use, it is called Transpersonal Psychology. It is literally understanding your subconscious, so then you can understand how your brain processes things and why certain emotions or certain reactions happen sometimes almost into autopilot instead of you being able to control it. Usually we start with a consultation and we start with just a conversation talking about what are the patterns that they want to stop or what are the emotions and feelings they want to stop seeing in their life. And then after that we work in a state of meditation, so that's how we access the subconscious. Believe it or not, our subconscious records everything, and everything is given to us with pictures. So we go and we investigate what are the things that are there that they're serving us and what are the things that we are ready to let go, because usually they sabotage our behavior. Believe it or not, the science is already proven that your mind have a lot to do with creating all the blockages or the disconnects that are within our bodies.
What kind of a therapy? What are some of the options that you might recommend?
So I like to work with both, with energy work and also with shadow or psychotherapy. So we usually see what do you need the most. Sometimes we have to really balance our body and our emotions to be able to go to those deeper places, especially because most of us, our ego gets in our way.
I think we can all relate to that.
Sometimes we like to say, nothing's wrong, I'm just wonderful. But we all deep down have some feelings that we wish we don't have or they don't come so often. So that's where, you can go and set yourself free so you understand why those emotions keep recurring in your life.
Yeah, and I think that's so important because a lot of the time we don't know why we're upset, or we don't know, we just kind of think we're in a funk and we don't know why. So we need to figure out why.
Completely. And believe it or not, the more we set on those emotions, the harder that it is to get out. It's almost to the point where emotions are like an addiction. So that's why with depression, the harder and the deeper that you go, usually the harder that it takes you to step out of it. We definitely have to work on that.
Walk me through how a session would go with one of them.
So usually if you come into my appointment, I'm going to ask you already to come thinking about what are emotions or patterns that you are going to want to work on, or what are sickness or pains that you have in your body. So believe it or not, when you study Chinese medicine, you get to understand the relationship between the emotions and the organs or whatever part of your body that is not working the way it should be. So that gives me a lot of information on where the client is, and then also the client usually leads you to know what is it they need, and based on that we decide what is the best path, but they make the decisions about what is the process that they would like to do. I just suggest what they need.
What are some of the things that they would choose to do?
So light energizations is a beautiful energy work, and what it does is it balances the energy in your body. So it is wonderful for a person who is in a really high state of stress. Believe it or not, when we live in that state of stress, our bodies usually goes into shock and it creates imbalances. So that session should be allowed to let the person release that stress so they can become more open for healing.
Well, that's fascinating.
It is fascinating.
It truly is. What about shadow? How does that work?
So the shadow would go into subconscious. So you will be laying like in a massage table. And what we do is we put you in a state of meditation. And then we go and tap into that emotion or the thought that we eventually realize is mostly fear. Fear-based, that it was created early in your childhood. So now that we have the capacity to understand it as an adult, we can release of that fear so the subconscious doesn't think all the time that we're going to repeat that emotion. They keep us being anxious and in attack mode.
For the person who's listening right now and is thinking, I've never meditated, I don't know if I could get to a meditative state, I don't know how to do that, what would you say to them?
I say everybody can meditate. It's all about figuring it out the way that it works for you. So we With me as a child, I was very, very hyper. So meditation really, really helped me. And it was usually like a meditation by walking or being in nature. And after a few times of just trying and trying, then I can go more into sitting down and meditating. But there's so many different ways. You can do breathing exercises that allows you to have more oxygen in your body. And medicine have proof that when you are really, really oxygenized, your body is really strong and your immune system, it becomes stronger. So if you don't want to meditate, you can just do breathing exercise. And sometimes it just takes 3 minutes of you just trying to just feel yourself in your heart, taking deep breaths, and that will allow you to just increase your energy and be able to just start walking in a different point of view.
Anybody could come and try psychotherapy. Anybody can meditate. So for all the people watching going, I don't know, you can do it.
Yes, believe it or not, I am just like a bridge. I'm just holding a space. The client is the one that is doing the work. They're the ones that are doing the investigation, and they're the ones that are putting all the pieces together so they can realize that it is not true and they can let it go.
I think that once they realize they have that power within them, then they can probably access a lot of things and start the process of changing things in their life that will benefit them for the better. Can you speak about that at all? How does that work?
If you can see huge difference. Like I have clients that have problems with a lot of different things, and when they're working and they're healing their inner child, where they're healing that emotional body, you can see it in the physical body. So like perfect example, a person that have problems with their gallbladder, a lot of times they're holding big rage and anger. My mom was one of those persons. So sometimes we have to understand the body, because the body is trying to communicate to us. So healing all those wounds and all that emotional body, it definitely affects the physical body, because your physical body is aligned and it can really use the energy just to keep you going instead of constantly being in a place of healing.
That makes sense. When you go get a massage, they always tell you, oh, you carry your tension in your shoulders, or you carry it here. So I think holding on to that stuff in your body makes total sense.
Yes. We offer flotation therapy, and that is wonderful to figure it out where you hold your stress in your body. A lot of times when we have a lot of release in our muscles, especially with the amount of magnesiums that we have in those tanks, allows you to feel where the tension in your body is, which is really fascinating, because when I float, it literally feels like I grow 2 inches because of the weight that I usually put on my shoulders. And the fascinating part is when you start feeling that coming back into your shoulders, and you never realized that before, because most people walk around with their body not feeling aligned and not working with full potential.
Tell us a little more about flotation and how that works, because that is really cool, and I bet a lot of people don't fully know what you're talking about.
So flotation therapy is a wonderful device. It is a tank that it has 1,000 pounds of medical Epsom salt. So it is the magnesium within the water that allows you to release all the stress within the muscle, and it's scientifically proved that 1 hour in there is equal to 4 hours of REM sleep, which most people don't access at night, which that's wonderful for our brain. So I always like to compare it to like literally turning your computer off and resetting it, and then waking up again like your computer went through all the updates.
I think we could all use that.
It is wonderful. And when your body gets to do it enough, like I go to sleep automatically, like within 5 minutes. And to me, my favorite part is because the water is the same day your body temperature, within 10 minutes, you don't feel your physical body. So you feel like you're only like mine, like you're floating in the space, especially if you turn off the sensory, which is the light and the music. So you're in completely darkness. To me, it's a wonderful experience to connect with yourself, to connect with your physical body. A lot of times when I'm in there, I realize of certain pains that I don't see in my everyday life. So it is wonderful to become attuned with yourself.
Just the rest benefit of it, I mean, that's huge, because I think a lot of people, especially people who have illnesses, they don't sleep well, or they can't get a solid 8 hours in a row. It's a broken, choppy, not deep sleep.
Yes, and a lot of places like us offer medical discounts because the science shows that it's wonderful for anybody that has inflammation, for anybody that have low magnesium. So we offer medical discounts for those people that need them, where we do them for half price any day so they can, help them. We have people that come constantly, like perfect example, it is wonderful for so we have a client that was coming consistently and have joining our team because he says that he loves it and it changed his life. So you do see a lot of people really, really getting a benefit, or physically or in the mind, because it really slows you and it allows you, like you say, sleep is wonderful for the people that have problems with sleeping. It really allows you to catch up with that sleep that most of us are deprived of.
You can't heal without enough sleep. That's definitely a huge part of it.
Huge. People don't understand how important it is. I always said you need to sleep. I'm a big believer on sleeping 8 hours a day, because when you go to sleep, your body can reset, your body can heal. So then you can wake up and do it all over again.
Yep. And I think that it's so important for people, especially with an illness, to realize that, rest is not just something that you can do if you have the luxury and the time. It's something you have to do, and you have to make it a priority. And a lot of people in our society today feel guilty when they rest and when they relax, like, oh, I should be doing something else. And no, you should be resting. You should be taking care of yourself.
I believe in a balance. I think that everybody have to understand that, life, if we all balance and keep in a balanced place, we should be able to be aligned and to have a very beautiful life. But sometimes it's hard because we live very busy and we're constantly trying to get satisfaction from the outside of us. But I think it is extremely important for people to understand the wellness. Balance is extremely important for our lives, and understanding and prioritizing the rest and the nutrition, the best nutrition that you can, and exercise, so your body can really have a little bit of everything that it needs to keep that inner balance within ourselves. It's definitely important, but like you said, sometimes we feel guilty and selfish for taking care of ourselves. But it should be the other way around, because how can we be there to help others if we don't take care of ourselves?
It's like they always talk about the cups. You can't pour out of an empty cup, and you can't take care of anyone if you don't take care of yourself. So it is important, and self-care is not a luxury. It's a staple. It's a necessity.
Yeah. And we are getting, I'm very hopeful because insurers are going to start taking care of some of these alternative medicine and alternative methods that a lot of times are not covered with insurance.
And if they were smart, they should. So I really hope to see a lot more of that as well. I was just at the dentist with my oldest son, and they have a new thing that they do to your tooth where if you don't have a cavity yet, but they think you're going to, they can do this therapy where it stops the cavity from starting. And so they offered it to us, and I said, go ahead and do it, because I'd rather do that than pay for a filling. And they said, well, insurance doesn't cover this yet because it's new, but they will one day. And it's just, there's all these things that are preventative that I do hope they catch up and start covering. And instead of taking care of the illness on the back end, let's take care of the wellness on the front end.
Yes, I think it have to change. I think as the more that we work and the most that we change that belief systems and mentality, because I think a lot of people go with the idea of don't fix something until it's break. And it's like, why should we do that? Let's take care of it before. So a lot of times that doesn't help our system. It is set up so we go when we have an issue instead of going to prevent the issue.
Yep. It's like maintaining a car. You don't wait until the engine breaks. You go and you get your oil changed and you get your brakes done, and you upkeep it.
Yes.
And if we treated our bodies as well as we treated our cars, maybe we could have a more fulfilling and wonderful life.
You mentioned that, which is fascinating to me, and I have always asked myself this question is, why did they always tell us we have to check every single part? When you turn 50, there's different organs and different things that you have to take care of. But they never tell us to go check our mind and our programming, which to me is very fascinating, because science now is proving that some of that programming is the cause of the issue.
Yes, absolutely. And any doctor will tell you that if you're stressed, it will negatively affect your health. Any doctor will tell you. But if you do something positive to your psyche and you try to promote healing, then, they're like, well, I don't know if that works. Well, how can it not? It goes both ways.
And I always said, people know and feel it. There's nothing better than feeling lighter and happy. So if it's working for you, keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. What other kind of things could somebody do in psychotherapy?
So pretty much psychotherapy can be helpful for absolutely everything. So perfect example with me, when I started psychotherapy, I was in a place of fear and a place of, I was going through divorce and I was seeing those patterns, and I didn't want to raise my children with that fear of being a single mom. So I went to learn where did that fear was coming from, which was a lot of observation of seeing my mother being a single mom. So I have to go. So with all of my clients, believe it or not, we all look so different and we all show it so similar, but deep down inside of us, we all mostly feel the same. So it is for everybody. It's just for people that they're willing to say, I am tired of what I'm feeling, or I'm tired of certain things, and they want to take the step to claim that joy, that balance, that wisdom, that harmony that is really what we're supposed to be experiencing in life.
That's a great way to put it. You also do energy work as part of it, like Reiki. What do you do with that?
So we usually just tune into the energy of the client, and what we try to do is just balance that energy. So usually the way that I process is I try to balance the female with the male energy, and also finding that balance between the emotional and the mental body, so that client can feel wholeness and can feel complete. Believe it or not, sometimes we feel like we have little four voices and they're all saying different things. That's why, because they all are in different places. So aligning that is extremely important so we can bring more clarity into our life.
Fascinating. I like it when you talk about male and female energy, because I think a lot of people don't realize that every person has both. You think, oh, I'm a woman, I have female energy, or I'm a man, I have male energy. Can you talk a little bit more about how to balance those and how we all have both of them?
So believe it or not, that was one of my biggest lessons in life when I was working with one of my professors, and they make sure that I understood that I ran my life mostly with male energy, and I took very offense to it. Then I got to understand, of course, I was a single mom, I have my own business, I needed a lot of that male energy to keep me pushing. So yes, we all have different energies, and we move through our life through those energies. So to give you an example, when you are creating, when you are in the place of being nurturing, compassion, you are tapping into your female energy. When you are in your strength, when you need directness, when you need to move things so they go into action and they happen, you are into your male energy. So we both have both. The wonderful thing will be for us to be balanced, but most of the time we have one that we like the most. So in my case, because of what I saw in my childhood, I related more to, if I am in my female energy, people will step on me and I will get hurt. So I needed that male energy to keep me protected. But also as I growing up, it kept people away because that energy sometimes is not very welcoming. So we just have to work on figuring out, how to balance it and heal those energies.
How are you with balancing them now? Do you still struggle with leaning mostly male, or do you find it easier to balance now?
I find it easier, and believe it or not, I love my female energy. Sometimes I'm like, I wish I would have tapped into it at an earlier age because it's so much more smooth and flowy. But I'm not going to lie. When I go into fear, it is very hard for me to stay there. So I have to become aware. That is the wonderful thing about becoming aware of who you are and why your brain is programmed the way you are, because you start becoming aware of those behaviors that you don't like. You still have them, but you are wishing and you're deciding not to go there. So a perfect example, I can be extremely controlling. If something in my life I cannot control, I'm going to try to control something. So when I see that, because I can now recognize that behavior, I can choose not to do it. But at one point in my life, that behavior will come automatically. And I will stay there for a week or a month until something will snap me out of it.
So it's helping you to control
Yes.
emotions.
Yes, I always tell my clients, it's like you become the driver of your car instead of your car driving you.
One of the things that I did with you that I really loved was the Rohan cards. Can you tell everyone what those are?
Yes, so Roham cards are a wonderful tool. Sometimes we know there's something in our life that we want to change or update, but we really are not clear about what it is. So Roham cards are perfect tool for those clients. So they're beautiful cards that are going to help you to understand where the blockage is within your chakra system. They're also going to let you know if it's a belief system that you brought into this life or if it was created in this lifetime. And it will allow you to understand the dynamic, the system, the program that does in your brain that sabotages you. So like to give you an example, so with me, it was usually was my second chakra, so inner child. And it was all about feeling that I cannot trust men. So whenever I will feel that, I will create a resistance wall, which it kept me safe as a child. But as an adult, that I wanted to have my own family in my own healthy marriage, I will create a wall that will resist people. So that behavior that kept me safe as a young kid, it was also the behavior that was sabotaging me as an adult. So the cards give you that so the clients can really see it. And when they see it, usually they can recognize that it's true. I will tell you, I have done many, many Roham card sessions. Never I have had one person that tells me that's not true. So they are fascinating and they're always on target.
Yes. When I did it, my chakra was my throat. And I think, I don't know if it was immediate or shortly after, I just started bawling. And I was like, oh my God, yes. And you can't really describe it until you do it, but they are incredibly accurate. It's very fascinating.
The coolest part is that allows you to process the way you need to, because sometimes your ego, when somebody else is telling you that, you're going to resist it. But when you're seeing it on the cards and you're like, oh, ooh, I do see that, then your ego is kind of like, okay, maybe I do that. So it's easier for you to heal that.
People's hardest struggle is seeing what we do that's actually sabotaging us or pushing people away, because like you said, we all want to show up and be like, hey, I'm fine, everything's fine. And so to actually look in that mirror and say, oh no, I'm actually doing this, or I'm pushing someone away, or for me it was not communicating. I'm terrible at communicating. I'm getting better, but I've always been terrible at it. And so for me to hit on that throat chakra, which is communication, I instantly knew that was me.
The concept of self-love is a hard concept to show to people, because most people believe they love themselves, but we really don't, because when we really love themselves, we're making the best choices for our soul. And in the world that we live, we make the best choices for the human aspect of ourselves. It's hard to not get caught up with that, especially when you have kids. And it really takes time to study your patterns to be able to get out of those places.
Definitely. And I think as adults, we usually are putting something ahead of us, whether it's if we have kids or what our job is or whatever. None of us are just sitting around going, I have nothing to do today. Like, we all have whatever is our priority, so we put those ahead of ourselves. And so I think that's a really important point.
Yes, you're correct. That took me a long time to be able to just have one lazy day to just do whatever I want to. My ego used to be extremely hard and I used to feel very lazy.
Right. Well, and I mean, you hear people talk and they'll be the first one to tell you, oh, I'm the worst. I do this, I do that, I'm the worst. And it's usually a negative tone that we talk about ourselves in, because we also think if we talk positively about ourselves that we're braggy, and then that's the ego. But that's not it.
Yeah, I always say talk to yourself like you're a little kid. So if your kid is tired, let it rest.
It's a great point, yes. and to talk, gently and caring and positively, not, they do say that, like, would you talk to your friend the way you're talking to yourself? When we beat ourselves up and we say, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid, I can't believe I did that, I'm so lazy, I got nothing done today. If your friend didn't do anything, you'd say, oh, you deserve a day off, your body's telling you to rest, you should take that. But to ourselves, we say, we're the worst, we're so lazy and awful.
I was very lucky. My mom was big in our family about we needed it to be impeccable with our words. So she always taught us the power on the words and how your words create. So she always makes us very aware of how we will talk about ourselves and others. Come to our website. We're always adding new classes and new modalities because we love bringing a little bit of everything for everybody. So we have modalities that it helps people from ages of 5 years old to 80 years old. So just check us out and keep looking for alternative medicine that helps you balance your body so you can live the lives that we're all meant to be. It is mysticflowwellnesscenter.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Adriana. We really, really appreciate this. This was very wonderful and insightful and just a fun conversation.
Thank you for having me. I had a blast.
Definitely. And for everyone who is watching right now, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. It means everything to us. And you can check out our website, acurainsight.org. Up at the top, there is a button to join our newsletter. If you want all of the information about events and everything we have going on, please subscribe to the newsletter. You can also subscribe on YouTube as well as any platform you're getting your podcast. Subscribing truly, truly does help us. So please do that if you're able. Also, if you want to like and leave us a comment, we would love to have that as well. And then also follow us on Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of the social medias. We'd love to connect with you on there. If you need anything, feel free to send us a message. We're happy to connect with you. And we also would love to thank our amazing sponsor, Castle Bioscience. Thank you, Castle, for letting us bring this information to the people and do what we do. And I am Megan with A Cure in Sight, and I will see you guys next time.